How are you able to just stay this like force of positivity though, Ryan? Like you could many times over have gotten so just discouraged, pissed off. I mean, you hear your GM on a prank call talking about, "Oh yeah, we're looking for another quarterback," and you're on two teams that seem to be tanking, and you're trying to win games, and you're getting benched maybe when you shouldn't get benched. I'm thinking of that year in Miami. Time and time and time again, you had a reason to get spiteful, get angry. And maybe you probably were angry to a degree, but to not allow that to consume you and to stay optimistic and this positive. How were you able to do that repeatedly throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly points where angry, upset, whether it was in, my play or whether it was in decisions that were made. Certainly there are things, not everything, is unicorns and rainbows. But that being said, there was a distinct turning point in my career after 2016 with the Jets. I had a great year in 2015 in New York, had a miserable year in 2016. It was the first time in my life I couldn't watch football. I was over it. I didn't want anything to do with it. I had a really bad season. I feel like I let a lot of people down, and I just had to take a step away. And from that point on, when I got a call from Dirk Cutter in Tampa, and they said, "Would you like to come be the backup?" My wife and I immediately got on Google Maps. I saw it was an hour away from Disney World and said, "Hey, why not?" From that point on, it was like this is going to be fun, and I
Huh?
think people saw that direct shift, even in my personality, in the interviews, and I think, in the way I played the game, I always tried to play the game free and light and with a lot of fun, but from that Tampa moment on, um, I really saw it as this is all icing on the cake. Let's go out there and have a good time because I love playing this game. This game has given me a lot, and I want to show, my kids a great time. I want to show all the fans I played for a great time. And so that was a big point for me in my career where I could kind of let everything else go away, realize that everything was icing on the cake,
Hmm.
and just go out there and play.
That's awesome. It was that abrupt. Was it really like a specific moment? Maybe you're just sitting around talking to your wife. I don't. When did that epiphany kind of kick
Oh,
in? And you
it was
really.
more because 2016 was so miserable for me. You have to reevaluate your why. Like, why are you playing this game? What is the purpose? So you know, it, the joyful game that we all grew up loving playing. Like, why are you continuing to put yourself through this and your family through this? Um, and for me, like I had to refine that love of football, and I did. I mean, I had so much fun in Tampa with that group of guys and being out there on the field, and that carried over for the rest of my career. Miami, I would argue that I had more fun playing in Miami with that group of guys than at any other point in my career. And part of it, relates to what we were talking about earlier with that Bills team 2010, 2011, 2012. Is it was a bunch of cast-offs. It was a bunch of misfit toys. It was a bunch of guys that everybody had kind of stopped believing in. And, for me, towards the tail end of my career, it was like, how can I get these guys to have confidence and believe in themselves?
Hmm.
And so there were guys on that Miami roster like Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki who had been beaten down. And I think the confidence in themselves was wavering a little bit. So to be able to come in and lift those guys up, um, that was two of the more rewarding years of my career. To be able to do what we did there, even though it didn't result in a championship, it didn't result in going to the playoffs. It did result in a lot of wonderful bonds for the rest of my life and a lot of great memories. Sitting there thinking about when Scotty Scheffler was talking the other day. I don't know if you saw that about how
Mhm.
thankless it was to be a golfer and to win. You put all this work into it and you win, and then it's such a fleeting feeling. You get it for 10, 15 minutes, and then you move on to the next tournament. I think football is different because football is such a team game, and there's so much that goes into those relationships with the guys that you play with. And so, at the end of the day, I that season is viewed as a failure because the Dolphins didn't make the playoffs and the Dolphins didn't win enough games and all these things. But the amount of people that were affected, not just on that team, but in that building in those 2 years in such a positive way, to me, that's something I hang my hat on, and something that I love that I was able to be a part of.